I checked my phone after a long Tuesday at work. Dad's voicemail hit like a punch to the gut. His voice was cold, dismissive, telling me I was cut off from the family, uninvited from Thanksgiving. My younger brother Austin got caught embezzling from our family construction business, but somehow I became the scapegoat. My parents believed Austin's lies that I orchestrated everything. I texted back 2 words: I appreciate. That night, sitting in my small apartment, I logged into the business account, the one Dad never bothered removing my name from, and did what I should have done months ago. The glow of my laptop screen lit up my face as I stared at the Henderson Construction business account portal. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. 3 months. That's how long this nightmare had been my reality. It started back in July when Austin got caught stealing $73,000 from Henderson Construction. Our father, Frank Henderson, had built that company from absolutely nothing over 35 years. Started with a pickup truck, a toolbox, and more determination than sense. By the time I was old enough to understand what he did, Henderson Construction was the go-to name for commercial builds in 3 counties. I had been the company's accountant for 7 years. Not full-time, but managing the books remotely while I worked my day job at Morgan & Associates, a mid-sized accounting firm downtown. It gave me stability, and gave Dad peace of mind knowing someone he trusted watched the numbers. Or at least, he used to trust me. Austin was 28, 4 years younger than me, and Dad's chosen successor. The golden boy who was supposed to learn the business from the ground up, eventually take over when Dad retired. Austin had charm, charisma, the kind of easy smile that made clients feel comfortable handing over 6-figure contracts. What he didn't have was integrity. When the theft was discovered, I was the one who found it. A Tuesday morning in July, I was reviewing quarterly reports and noticed discrepancies. Cash withdrawals that didn't match any invoices. Checks made out to vendors I'd never heard of. I dug deeper and found a pattern going back 8 months. $73,000, siphoned off in careful increments. I called Dad immediately, told him we had a problem. He came to my apartment that evening, and we went through everything together. His face aged 10 years in 2 hours. Who? He kept asking. Who would do this? I showed him the signatures, the account access logs, the timestamps. Everything pointed to Austin. Dad went silent. Then he said he'd handle it. The next day, I got a call from Austin. He was crying, panicked, saying he'd made a terrible mistake but that I had shown him how to do it, that I was the real mastermind, and he was just following my instructions because I told him the company needed extra cash flow. It was such an absurd lie that I actually laughed. Then I realized he was serious. Within 48 hours, my entire family had turned against me. Mom, Patricia, called me screaming. How could I do this to my baby brother? How could I corrupt him and then try to blame him when I got caught? I tried to explain. Showed them documentation, bank records, access logs proving I was nowhere near those transactions. But Austin had gotten to them first, planted seeds of doubt, played the victim so convincingly that nothing I said mattered. Frank was exhausted, betrayed. He chose to believe the son who'd been working beside him every day over the son who'd kept his distance, who'd chosen a different career path. In his mind, it made sense that I'd be the calculated one, the one who knew how to manipulate numbers. Extended family picked sides like we were in some kind of civil war. Uncle Drew, Dad's younger brother, believed Austin's version. So did Aunt Carolyn. Cousins started avoiding me at family gatherings. I'd walk into a room and conversations would stop. I tried to defend myself at a family barbecue in August. Stood up in front of 20 relatives and laid out the facts. Austin sat there with tears streaming down his face, playing wounded and betrayed. By the end of the night, half the family wasn't speaking to me. The final straw came in September. I was uninvited from my cousin's wedding. The bride, Sarah, actually called me to explain that my presence would make Austin uncomfortable, and they wanted to keep the peace. I stopped going to family events after that. Stopped calling. Stopped trying to prove my innocence to people who'd already made up their minds. And then today, Tuesday, October 24th, Dad's voicemail. Gerald, this is your father. Your mother and I have made a decision. We're cutting you off. You're not welcome at Thanksgiving this year. You're not welcome at Christmas. Until you come clean about what you did to your brother and make this right, you're not part of this family anymore. Austin's getting professional help, trying to rebuild his life after what you did to him. We're supporting him. We can't support you. Goodbye." His voice was final, decisive, like he was firing an employee, not disowning his son. I sat in my car outside Morgan & Associates for 20 minutes, listening to that message on repeat. Then I texted back, "I appreciate." Not "I appreciate it" or "I appreciate your honesty." Just those two words. Let him figure out what they meant. Now, at 11:30 at night, I pulled up the Henderson construction account. My name was still there as an authorized signer. Dad had added me 7 years ago when I started managing the books. In all the chaos, all the accusations, he'd never bothered to remove me. I wasn't stealing. I wasn't taking a dime. I was removing my liability. With 3 clicks, I removed my name from the account, downloaded 7 years of financial records, emailed them to my personal account, backed them up to 3 different cloud services. Then I noticed something in the recent transactions that made my blood run cold. Austin had been at it again. Unauthorized withdrawals over the past 6 weeks. $42,000, taken in chunks small enough to avoid immediate detection but large enough to add up fast. I took screenshots of everything. Saved them to 2 external hard drives and another cloud backup. Then I closed my laptop and went to bed. I slept better than I had in months. Wednesday morning, my phone started buzzing at 6:15. I ignored it, got in the shower, made coffee. By the time I was dressed for work, I had 12 missed calls. Then my colleague Marissa called. "Gerald, your dad just called the office. He's furious. He's threatening to sue the firm and you personally. He says you stole money from the family business. Our boss wants to see you immediately." My stomach dropped. Austin had made another move. He told Frank that I just embezzled funds, using the account access removal as proof. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, my hands shaking. The trap I thought I'd escaped had just slammed shut around me. The lobby of Morgan & Associates felt different that Wednesday morning. The receptionist, Dana, wouldn't meet my eyes. 2 junior accountants stopped talking when I walked past their desks. News traveled fast in a firm this size. Richard Pemberton's office was on the 4th floor, corner suite, with windows overlooking downtown. His door was open. He waved me in without looking up from his computer. "Close the door, Gerald." Richard was 54, silver hair, always perfectly combed, expensive suits that made him look like he stepped out of a financial magazine. He'd hired me 4 years ago, mentored me, trusted me with increasingly important clients. Now he looked at me like I was a stranger. "Your father called me at 6 this morning," Richard said. "Woke me up. Started making accusations and threats before I was fully awake. He claims you embezzled from his business. Says he's filing criminal charges and that this firm is liable for employing you. Gerald, I've known you for 4 years. You're meticulous, honest, sometimes too honest. But I need to understand what's happening." I spent the next 30 minutes explaining everything. The family situation, Austin's original theft, the false accusations, the voicemail, my decision to remove my name from the account. I showed Richard the evidence I'd downloaded, the transaction records clearly showing Austin's theft, both the original $73,000 and the new $42,000. Richard studied the documents, his expression softening from concern to something like sympathy. "This is a family matter that's becoming a professional liability," he finally said. "Gerald, I believe you. These records are clear. But your father threatened legal action against the firm. That puts me in a difficult position. I need you to take a week off, unpaid. Let this situation cool down. Give me time to talk to our legal team. But Gerald, if your father files a formal complaint or lawsuit naming the firm, I'll have to suspend you pending a full investigation. Do you understand?" I understood. My family drama was about to cost me my career. I left Richard's office at 9:45. My phone had been buzzing continuously. 23 missed calls from Dad. 15 from Mom, 12 from Austin, 8 from Uncle Drew. I sat in my car in the parking garage and listened to the voicemails. Dad's voice, shaking with rage. "You stole from us! You cleaned out the account! The bank called this morning, said all the money's gone! I'm calling the police!" Mom, crying. "How could you do this? After everything we've done for you? You're a thief and a liar." Austin's voice was different, calm, almost amused. "Hey, brother, nice try. But you just made this so much worse for yourself. Dad's going to bury you." Uncle Drew sounded conflicted. "Gerald, I don't know what to believe anymore, but you need to call your father back. He's talking about pressing charges." I checked the Henderson Construction account from my phone. Someone had deposited money back into it, but only $15,000. The account should have had nearly $200,000 based on the last statement I'd seen. Where was the rest? I drove home, my mind racing. When I pulled into my apartment complex, Mrs. Kowalski was watering plants in the courtyard. She was 67, had lived in the building for 30 years, knew everyone's business. "Gerald, dear, your brother was here about an hour ago." I stopped. "Austin was here? He said he needed to get something from your apartment for you. Some papers or documents. I told him I couldn't let him in without your permission. He got very aggressive, raised his voice. I threatened to call the police and he left. But Gerald, I didn't like the look in his eyes." I thanked her and hurried to my apartment. Nothing looked disturbed, but I felt violated knowing Austin had been here, had tried to get inside. He was looking for the evidence I'd downloaded. The proof of his crimes. I checked my hiding spots. The external hard drives were still in my desk drawer, buried under old tax returns. The cloud backups were secure, but I felt exposed, vulnerable. That evening, I tried to eat dinner but couldn't stomach more than a few bites. My phone kept ringing. I stopped answering. At 8 o'clock, Mom called again. I almost didn't pick up, but something made me answer. "Gerald, please, just give the money back." Her voice was thick with crying. "Your father's having chest pains. The stress is killing him. The doctor said his blood pressure is dangerously high. Just return the money, and we can move past this. We can be a family again." "Mom, I didn't take any money. I removed my name from an account I should never have been on in the first place. Check your bank records. The money didn't go anywhere." "Then where is it?" "The bank says the account's nearly empty. Ask Austin." She hung up on me. I poured myself a whiskey, my hands shaking. I rarely drank, but tonight I needed something to take the edge off. At 8:30, I received a text from an unknown number, a photo attachment. My car, parked in my numbered spot outside my building. The photo was taken from maybe 20 feet away. Then another text. "You think you're smart? You think you can ruin me? I know where you live. I know where you work. Give Dad what he wants or this gets worse." The number wasn't saved in my phone, but I knew it was Austin. He was using a burner phone. I took screenshots, saved them, forwarded them to my personal email. Then I did something I should have done weeks ago. I called a lawyer. Thomas Brennan's voicemail picked up. It was after business hours. I left a message explaining that I needed representation for a family legal matter, possibly criminal accusations. My voice sounded steadier than I felt. I double-checked all my locks that night. Slept with my phone on the nightstand, volume turned up. Every sound in the hallway made me jump. This wasn't about money anymore. This wasn't about family reconciliation or proving my innocence. Austin was threatening me. And I was realizing just how dangerous my brother had become. Thursday morning arrived with another crisis. I woke to an email from my bank at 5:30 a.m. Suspicious activity alert. Multiple failed login attempts detected on your checking account. Someone had tried to access my personal account 3 times overnight. Failed password attempts from an IP address in another state. I called the bank's fraud department as soon as they opened at 7. Filed a report, changed all my passwords, added 2-factor authentication to everything. The representative asked if I knew who might be attempting to access my accounts. "My brother," I said. The words felt surreal. "You should file a police report," she told me. I said I would. But part of me wondered what good it would do. Austin was family. The police would see this as a domestic issue, tell us to work it out ourselves. At 9 o'clock my phone rang. Uncle Drew. "Gerald, your dad wants to meet. Neutral ground. Just talk this out, man to man. Thursday lunch at Rosie's Diner on 5th Street. Noon. No lawyers, no drama. Can you do that?" I wanted to say no. Every instinct told me it was a trap. But another part of me, the part that still remembered Sunday dinners and fishing trips and Dad teaching me to drive, wanted to believe we could fix this. "I'll be there," I said. I arrived at Rosie's Diner at 11:55. The place was a local institution, been around for 40 years, red vinyl booths and checkered floors, and a jukebox that still played actual records. Thursday lunch crowd was starting to filter in. I saw them in a corner booth before they saw me. Dad, Mom, Austin, Uncle Drew, Aunt Carolyn, and Austin's fiancée, Brittany, a blonde woman I'd only met twice. This wasn't a conversation. This was an ambush. I almost turned around and walked out. But Dad looked up, saw me, and something in his expression made me stay. He looked exhausted, defeated. I slid into the booth across from them. The table was crowded, uncomfortable. I was outnumbered 6-1. "Thanks for coming," Uncle Drew started, trying to play mediator. "We all want to resolve this. We're family." "Then let's resolve it," I said. "Ask me anything. I'll answer honestly." Dad leaned forward. "Where's the money, Gerald?" "What money?" "Don't play games." The account was drained. Nearly $187,000 gone. I didn't take anything. I removed my name from the account for liability reasons. Check the bank records. No transfers were made to any account in my name. Austin spoke up, his voice soft and wounded. "Dad, he's lying. I have proof." He slid a printed bank statement across the table. I picked it up, scanned it. My blood turned to ice. It showed a transfer of $187,000 to an offshore account in the Cayman Islands. The transaction was dated Tuesday night, right around the time I'd removed my name from the account. And my name was listed as the authorized user who made the transfer. It was fabricated. It had to be. But it looked real. Official bank letterhead, transaction numbers, timestamps. "This is fake," I said. "I never made this transfer." "The bank confirmed it," Dad said. His voice was hollow. "They said someone with your account credentials authorized the transfer Tuesday night at 11:42 p.m. Dad, I was asleep by 11:30. And I never had credentials to make international transfers. Check with the bank. This document is forged." "You're lying." Mom's voice cracked. "You've been lying this whole time. Austin was right about you. You're a thief, and you're trying to destroy this family." The diner had gone quiet. Other customers were watching. The waitress stood frozen by the kitchen, unsure whether to intervene. Dad stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I'm filing a police report today. I'm pressing charges. Gerald, you're going to jail for this." "You're going to believe a forged document over your own son? You stopped being my son when you stole from me." The words hit like a physical blow. I stood up, my hands shaking. "Fine. Believe whatever you want, but I'm not going down for Austin's crimes. And when the truth comes out, when you finally see who he really is, don't expect me to forgive you." I walked out of Rosie's diner with every eye on me, got in my car, sat there for 5 minutes breathing hard, trying not to cry. My phone rang. Thomas Brennan, the lawyer I'd left a message for. "Mr. Henderson, I got your voicemail. I think we should meet today. Can you come to my office at 2? I could. Thomas Brennan's office was modest, second floor of a converted house near the courthouse. He was 52, graying at the temples, with the kind of calm demeanor that probably came from 20 years of dealing with people in crisis. We spent 2 hours going through everything. I showed him all my evidence, the records of Austin's theft, the threatening texts, the forged bank statement. "This is harassment at minimum," Thomas said, "possibly conspiracy to commit fraud. The offshore account document is almost certainly fake. Banks don't format statements like this. And international transfers require additional verification steps. But Gerald, your family has already called the police. I need you to understand that you might be arrested while we sort this out." "Arrested for something I didn't do?" "Unfortunately, yes. Your father has filed a formal complaint. The police have to investigate." As if on cue, there was a knock at Thomas's door. His secretary poked her head in. "Mr. Brennan, there are 2 police officers here. They're asking for Gerald Henderson." My heart stopped. Detective Harris was 44, broad-shouldered, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Officer Campos was younger, maybe 31, and looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Henderson, we need to ask you some questions about a theft reported by Frank Henderson. You're not under arrest, but we'd like you to come down to the station." Thomas stood. "I'm his attorney. I'll accompany him." At the police station, we sat in an interview room for 90 minutes. I told them everything. Showed them my evidence of Austin's actual thefts, explained the family situation, provided alibis for Tuesday night. Detective Harris was professional, thorough. Mr. Henderson will investigate both claims. Your evidence regarding your brother is substantial, but your father's accusation is serious. Don't leave town. We'll be in touch. I left the police station at 6 p.m., exhausted and terrified. That night, my phone started ringing again. This time, the voicemails were different. Dad's voice at 3 a.m. Friday. Gerald, call me back. This is urgent. It's about the business. Mom at 7 a.m. Honey, please, we need to talk. Something's happened. Uncle Drew at 9 a.m. Gerald, your dad's in real trouble. Real trouble. You need to call me. I ignored them all. Went to work at Morgan & Associates even though I was supposed to be on unpaid leave. Sat in my car in the parking garage, trying to figure out my next move. At 2 in the afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number, I answered. Mr. Henderson, this is Thomas Brennan. We met yesterday. I'm actually calling in a different capacity now. I've been retained to represent Henderson Construction in a legal matter. Your father's business is being audited by the IRS. They've frozen all business accounts as of this morning. Your father claims you have backup financial records that could help prove the company's compliance. He's desperate, Gerald. He needs your help. I sat in silence for a long moment. What happened? I finally asked. The IRS found discrepancies in the company's tax filings going back 2 years. They're investigating for fraud. If they determine the company knowingly filed false returns, your father could face criminal charges, significant penalties, possibly even prison time, and the business will be destroyed. My family threw me away, called me a thief, had me questioned by police, accused me of crimes I didn't commit, and now they needed me. Tell my father I'll think about it, I said and hung up. For the first time in 3 months, I had leverage, and I intended to use it. Friday evening, I sat in my apartment with my laptop open, reviewing every financial document I'd saved from Henderson Construction. 7 years of records, organized by quarter, every transaction logged and categorized. Austin hadn't just stolen from the business. He'd falsified tax documents, underreported income by claiming personal expenses as business costs, created fake vendor invoices for services never rendered. The numbers told a story of systematic fraud going back at least 2 years. The total was staggering. Over $300,000 in theft and tax evasion combined. If the IRS uncovered this without context, without understanding that Austin alone was responsible, they'd assume the entire company was complicit. Dad would be held accountable. He could lose everything he'd spent 35 years building. He could go to prison. I should have felt vindicated, satisfied. They destroyed me, and now karma was destroying them. Instead, I felt hollow. Dad had built Henderson Construction with his hands. I remembered being 7 years old, watching him frame houses in the summer heat. Remembered him coming home exhausted, covered in sawdust, but always making time to play catch in the backyard. He'd missed my baseball games because of work, missed birthdays and school events, but it was always because he was building something bigger than himself, something to leave his sons. And Austin had poisoned it, corrupted it from the inside. My phone buzzed. Another voicemail. I almost didn't listen, but curiosity got the better of me. Dad's voice. 11 o'clock Friday night. Gerald, I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please, son, they're going to take everything. 40 years of work. I'm begging you. Call me back. The desperation in his voice made my chest tighten. At 11:30, Mom called. I answered. Your father's crying, she said without preamble. Her voice was raw. I've never seen him cry, Gerald. Not when his mother died, not when he broke his back falling off a scaffold 20 years ago, but tonight he's sitting at the kitchen table, crying like a child. Please. Whatever happened between us, he needs you. Where's Austin? I asked. Silence. Mom, where's Austin? We don't know. He left Wednesday night, took Brittany and some clothes, said he needed space. We haven't heard from him since. Of course, the IRS investigation started, and Austin ran. I'll think about it, I told her, and hung up. Saturday morning at 8, I called Thomas Brennan's cell phone. I have the records, I said, complete financials going back 7 years. They'll show the IRS exactly what happened and who's responsible. But I need something first. I want a written statement from my father acknowledging I had nothing to do with any financial impropriety. I want my name cleared, and I want Austin investigated and prosecuted. Mr. Henderson, your father is willing to do anything. The IRS is threatening to seize the business Monday morning. Can we meet today? This afternoon. Your office. 2 o'clock. And Thomas, make sure my father understands I'm not doing this for him. I'm doing this for the business he built. At 2 o'clock, I walked into Thomas Brennan's office. Dad was already there, sitting in a chair by the window. He looked like he'd aged 20 years. His face was gray, his hands shaking. Mom sat beside him. Uncle Drew stood in the corner. Another lawyer I didn't recognize sat at Thomas's desk. Gerald, Dad started, but I held up my hand. Don't. Just listen. I opened my laptop and connected it to Thomas's monitor. For the next hour, I walked them through everything. Every transaction Austin made. Every falsified document. Every lie. I showed them the offshore account, the one Austin had actually created, not the fake one from the forged bank statement. I showed them proof that Austin had been stealing for over 2 years, that the recent $42,000 was just the latest in a long pattern. Dad's face crumbled as he watched. Mom put her hand over her mouth. He's my son, Dad whispered. I believed him. And I'm your son too, I said, my voice hard. But you threw me away without even asking for my side. You called me a thief in public. You filed a police report against me. You destroyed my reputation, almost cost me my job. And you did it because Austin cried and played victim, and you chose to believe the easy lie instead of investigating the hard truth. I'm sorry, Dad said. Gerald, I'm so sorry. Your apology doesn't fix what you broke. Mom was crying now. Austin called yesterday, left a voicemail saying he was leaving town, that he was sorry for everything. He said he was taking Brittany to California to start over. He emptied his personal bank accounts. Gerald, he just ran away. I felt no satisfaction, only exhaustion. The other lawyer, who introduced himself as David Marsh, spoke up. Mr. Henderson, Gerald, the IRS situation is critical. If you provide these records and explain the situation, we can likely demonstrate that the company was a victim of internal fraud. It won't make everything go away, but it will prevent the worst outcomes. However, we need to act immediately. The seizure order takes effect Monday at 9 a.m. I looked at Thomas. Draw up the documents. Written acknowledgement of my innocence. Austin's removal from any business connections. And I want nothing more to do with the company going forward. No ownership stake, no management role. Once this is done, I'm out. Dad nodded. Whatever you want. Thomas and David spent the next 2 hours drafting documents. I provided copies of all the financial records on encrypted drives. We planned a meeting with the IRS for Monday morning. At 6 p.m., as we were finishing the paperwork, my phone rang. Detective Harris. Mr. Henderson, we've located your brother. He was stopped at the Canadian border attempting to cross with $234,000 in cash. He's in federal custody. We need you to come to the station. Your evidence is crucial to building the case against him. I looked at Dad. His face was pale. I'll be there in 30 minutes, I told Detective Harris. I stood to leave. Dad grabbed my arm. Gerald, please. He's your brother. He's sick. He needs help, not prison. I pulled my arm free. You wanted me to save your business. I will. But Austin goes to prison. That's non-negotiable. He threatened me. He tried to frame me. He destroyed your company and our family. He doesn't get to walk away from this. But he's family, Mom pleaded. So am I. Remember? I walked out of Thomas Brennan's office and drove to the police station. The tables had turned. But I didn't feel victorious. I just felt tired. The police station's fluorescent lights gave everything a harsh, clinical quality. Detective Harris led me to the same interview room where I'd been questioned 2 days earlier. This time, I wasn't the suspect. Your brother's in federal custody in Buffalo, Detective Harris explained, spreading documents across the table. Border Patrol stopped his vehicle during a routine check. They found $234,000 in cash hidden in the trunk under a false bottom. When they ran his ID, our warrant came up. He tried to claim the money was legitimate savings, but he couldn't provide documentation. He's being held on charges of embezzlement, fraud, and attempted flight to avoid prosecution. I looked at the photos. Austin in handcuffs. Brittany crying in the background. Stacks of cash laid out on a table. He's talking, Harris continued. Trying to make a deal. He's claiming you were involved. That you planned the whole thing together, and he was trying to escape with your share before you could double-cross him. I actually laughed. It was bitter and hollow. Of course he is. We know it's not true. Your alibi for Tuesday night is solid. Your bank records show no unusual activity. And the evidence you provided clearly demonstrates a pattern of theft going back years before you even knew there was a problem. But I need to take your formal statement. Everything you know, everything you can prove. We spent 3 hours going through every detail. I provided copies of all the financial records I'd saved, showed him the threatening texts from Austin's burner phone, explained the forged offshore account document. By 9 p.m., Detective Harris leaned back in his chair. Mr. Henderson, you're clear. More than clear. Your documentation is going to be crucial in prosecuting your brother. The district attorney will likely want you to testify. I will, I said. Whatever it takes. I drove home through empty streets, exhausted beyond measure. Slept for 12 hours straight. My phone turned off. The world shut out. Sunday morning, I woke to 47 new messages. I ignored most of them. But I listened to one voicemail from Uncle Drew. Gerald, I owe you an apology, a real one. I believed Austin because it was easier than accepting that he's capable of this kind of betrayal. I'm sorry. Your dad's asking for you. He's at County Medical. Just for observation, but he wants to see you. I debated for an hour, then got in my car and drove to the hospital. County Medical Center was a sprawling complex on the east side of town. I found Dad in a private room on the 4th floor, hooked up to monitors tracking his heart rate and blood pressure. He looked small, diminished. This man who'd always seemed larger than life, who could lift 200-pound beams and work 16-hour days, now looked fragile. Gerald. His voice was rough. You came. Uncle Drew said you wanted to see me. I had a breakdown last night. Panic attack, the doctors called it. Blood pressure through the roof. They're keeping me for observation. He gestured to the empty chair beside the bed. Sit, please. Saturday. I built that business for you boys, Dad said after a long silence. Everything I did, every sacrifice, it was so I could leave you something, a legacy, security, and Austin destroyed it. But I destroyed you. I didn't listen. I didn't investigate. I took the easy path because believing you were guilty meant I didn't have to accept that I'd failed as a father, that I'd raised a son who could do this. You didn't fail with me, I said quietly. I did. I chose the wrong son. You didn't choose the wrong son. You chose not to investigate. You chose the comfortable lie over the uncomfortable truth. Dad closed his eyes. Tears leaked from the corners. I know, and I'm sorry doesn't fix it. But Gerald, I am sorry. I'm sorry for every word, every accusation, every moment I made you feel like you weren't my son. We sat in silence for a long time. Machines beeped. Nurses walked past in the hallway. I'll help you with the IRS, I finally said. I'll make sure the business survives. But after this is done, I'm walking away. From the company, from the family drama, from all of it. I need to build my own life, separate from Henderson Construction and everything it represents. You deserve better than what we gave you, Dad said. You always did. I stayed for another hour. We didn't talk much. But something shifted in that hospital room. Not forgiveness exactly, but understanding, acknowledgement of the damage that had been done. Monday morning, I met Dad, Thomas Brennan, and David Marsh at the Federal Building downtown. The IRS office was on the 7th floor. All government-issue furniture and stacks of forms. Sharon Martinez, the IRS agent handling the case, was 48, sharp-eyed, and clearly not interested in hearing excuses. Mr. Henderson, she addressed Dad, your company has filed inaccurate tax returns for at least 2 years. Underreported income, fraudulent deductions, missing documentation. The penalties alone could bankrupt you. Criminal charges are being considered. Miss Martinez, David Marsh interjected, our client was the victim of internal fraud. His son, who was managing day-to-day operations, systematically stole from the company and falsified records to cover his tracks. We have documentation proving this. I spent the next 90 minutes walking Sharon Martinez through everything. Every fraudulent transaction, every falsified invoice, every underreported payment. I showed her the real books, the accurate records I'd maintained separately, proving that the company's actual income and expenses were legitimate. Only Austin's manipulations created the discrepancies. Sharon Martinez was silent for a long time, reviewing documents. Finally, "Mr. Henderson, Frank Henderson, your business was clearly victimized by internal fraud. Based on these records, I see no evidence that you knowingly filed false returns. However, you're still liable for the accurate taxes owed, plus penalties for the inaccuracies. We'll continue our investigation, but the immediate seizure order will be lifted. You'll need to file amended returns and work out a payment plan." Dad nearly collapsed with relief. We left the federal building at 1 p.m. Dad grabbed my arm in the parking garage. "Thank you. You saved everything." "I didn't do it for you," I said. But even as the words left my mouth, I knew they weren't entirely true. As we were walking to our cars, my phone rang. Unknown number. Gerald Henderson. "Gerald, this is Brittany, Austin's fiancée. I need to talk to you, alone. It's about Austin. There's something you don't know. Something that changes everything." My stomach tightened. "What are you talking about?" "Not on the phone. Can you meet me?" "Lakeside Park in 1 hour. Please, you need to hear this." I agreed, suspicious but curious. Lakeside Park was a public space, safe enough. I arrived early, parked where I could see the whole area. Brittany was waiting on a bench near the water, looking terrified. She handed me a folder as soon as I sat down. "Austin wasn't working alone," she said without preamble. "There's someone else. Someone who helped him plan everything, who told him how to steal without getting caught. And they're coming after you next." I opened the folder. Inside were printed emails between Austin and someone named J. Morrison. My blood ran cold as I read. James Morrison, Dad's former business partner, the man Dad pushed out of Henderson Construction 15 years ago. And according to these emails, he'd been orchestrating Austin's crimes the entire time. I read through the emails twice, my hands trembling. Brittany sat beside me, crying quietly. The correspondence went back almost 3 years. James Morrison, writing under various email addresses, coaching Austin on how to embezzle funds without detection, teaching him how to manipulate account records, helping him set up the offshore accounts. But it was more than just theft. It was revenge. "Your father destroyed my career," one email read. "Henderson promised me a partnership, then forced me out when the company started making real money. He stole 15 years of my work. Now we're going to take everything from him. And we'll start by turning his sons against each other." "Austin never came up with the plan to frame you," Brittany said. "James did. He told Austin exactly what to say, how to act, what evidence to fabricate. James wanted to destroy your relationship with your father. He wanted Frank to lose both his sons and his business." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I'm scared. I found these emails last week when I was packing Austin's things. I was going to leave him. I knew he was stealing, and I couldn't be part of it anymore. But then Austin got arrested, and James called me." Her voice shook. "He threatened me. Said if I talked to anyone, if I showed these emails to the police, he'd hurt me. He knows where I live, where I work. But Gerald, he said something worse. He said, Gerald thinks he won. He thinks saving his father's business means this is over. But I'm not done with him. He helped Frank push me out all those years ago. Now I'm going to destroy him." "I was 17 when James left the company," I said. "I had nothing to do with whatever happened between him and my father. He doesn't care. He blames your whole family. And Gerald, he has a plan. He's going to file a civil lawsuit against you personally. He has fake evidence, forged documents, false testimony from people he's paid off. He's going to claim you conspired to commit fraud against him 15 years ago. He's going to drag you through court, destroy your reputation, make sure you can never work as an accountant again." I took out my phone and called Detective Harris immediately. He answered on the second ring. "Detective, this is Gerald Henderson. I have new information about my case. James Morrison, a former business partner of my father's, has been orchestrating everything. I have evidence, emails, proving conspiracy." "James Morrison?" Harris's voice changed. "I know that name. He has a record, fraud and extortion from 12 years ago. Served 3 years at Leavenworth. If he's involved in this, we need to bring him in. Can you come to the station?" "I'm on my way." I also called Thomas Brennan, explained the situation. He told me to get a restraining order immediately, to document everything, to not engage with James under any circumstances. I drove Brittany to the police station. She was terrified but determined. We spent 2 hours giving statements, turning over the emails, explaining James's involvement. Detective Harris was grim. "This is bigger than your brother's embezzlement. If James Morrison orchestrated a conspiracy to commit fraud, if he threatened witnesses, if he's planning to file fraudulent lawsuits, he's looking at serious federal charges. We'll coordinate with the FBI, but Mr. Henderson, you need to be careful. Morrison is dangerous. He's obsessed." I went home that evening, packed a bag, and checked into a budget hotel across town. Used a friend's credit card to book it under his name. I wasn't taking chances. Tuesday morning, I was back at work at Morgan & Associates. My week suspension was technically over. Richard Pemberton called me into his office first thing. "Gerald, I heard about the IRS situation, your brother's arrest. I want you to know the firm supports you. We're dropping the unpaid leave. You're back, full-time, with back pay for the week you missed." I was thanking him when the front desk called. "Gerald, there's a process server here to see you." My stomach dropped. The process server handed me a thick envelope. Inside was a civil lawsuit, James Morrison versus Gerald Henderson. The complaint was 37 pages long, alleging that I had conspired with my father 15 years ago to defame James, destroy his reputation, and steal business opportunities. He was seeking $2.3 million in damages. I read through it in Richard's office. Every allegation was a lie, but the complaint was filled with specific details, dates, testimony from supposed witnesses. It looked legitimate enough to fool anyone who didn't know the truth. Richard's face went pale. "Gerald, this is exactly what I was afraid of. The firm can't have an accountant under this level of legal scrutiny. I have to put you on unpaid leave until this is resolved. The partners are going to insist." "Richard, this is completely fabricated. I'm the victim here. I believe you. But my hands are tied. I'm sorry." I walked out of Morgan & Associates at 10:30 a.m., my career in shambles again. I sat in my car, my hands shaking with rage. My phone rang. Unknown number. Gerald Henderson. "Hello, Gerald." The voice was cold, controlled. "This is James Morrison. We've never formally met, but I've been watching you for a very long time. What do you want?" "I want you to understand something. 15 years ago, your father destroyed my career. He promised me a partnership in Henderson Construction, then forced me out when the company started making real money. He took clients I'd brought in, projects I'd developed. He stole from me. And you, his golden boy son, you benefited from everything he built on my back. I was 17. I had nothing to do with any business decisions. You're a Henderson. That's enough. Your father took everything from me. My career, my reputation, my livelihood. I spent 3 years in prison for trying to rebuild what he destroyed. Now I'm going to return the favor. Even if the criminal charges against Austin stick, even if your father's business survives, I'll bury you. I'll bankrupt you with legal fees. I'll make sure you never work as an accountant again. I'll take everything from you, just like your family took everything from me." "You're insane." "No, I'm patient. I've been planning this for 15 years. And Gerald, you can't win. You can't afford to fight me in court. You'll go broke defending yourself. Your reputation is already destroyed. By the time this is over, you'll wish you'd never heard the name Henderson." He hung up. I sat in my car, breathing hard, my mind racing. Then I opened my laptop and started researching James Morrison. His business history, his criminal record, his known associates. What I found made everything click into place. James had done this before, 3 times in the past 12 years. Filed fraudulent lawsuits against former business partners, used fabricated evidence and paid testimony to force settlements. None of his victims could afford prolonged legal battles. They'd all settled out of court, paid him tens of thousands just to make him go away. He was a professional extortionist, and he expected me to fold like everyone else. But I had something his other victims didn't. Evidence. Brittany's emails proving conspiracy. Documentation of Austin's crimes linking back to James. Proof that James had orchestrated everything. I called Thomas Brennan. "I'm not settling. I'm countersuing, and I'm going to make sure James Morrison goes to prison. Gerald, fighting this could cost you everything. So could giving up. But at least if I fight, I'll know I didn't let him win." There was a long pause. Then Thomas said, All right, let's go to war. Wednesday morning, Thomas Brennan, Detective Harris, and I met at the district attorney's office. Eleanor Vasquez, the DA, was 47, sharp as a razor, and had a reputation for prosecuting white-collar crime aggressively. We laid out everything. James Morrison's emails to Austin, his history of fraudulent lawsuits, his threats to Brittany and me, the pattern of extortion going back over a decade. Eleanor studied the documents for over an hour. Finally, she looked up. This is conspiracy to commit fraud, witness intimidation, extortion, and about 6 other charges. We can arrest him today. And Mr. Henderson, your counter-lawsuit will be the least of his problems. He's looking at federal prison time. By Wednesday afternoon, James Morrison was in federal custody. The civil lawsuit against me was dismissed within 24 hours, once the judge reviewed the evidence of James's criminal conduct and history of filing fraudulent claims. I called Richard Pemberton personally, explained everything, sent him copies of the DA's criminal complaint against James. Gerald, come back to work. Please, I'm sorry I doubted you. The firm wants you back, and we're prepared to offer you junior partner track. You've handled this situation with more integrity and grace than anyone I've ever seen. I accepted. But I made it clear, no more family business involvement. Ever. Austin's case moved quickly. Faced with overwhelming evidence and James's testimony implicating him in the conspiracy, Austin accepted a plea deal. 4 years in prison, full restitution of $315,000 to Henderson Construction, permanent ban from serving as a business officer. I attended his sentencing hearing, sat in the back of the courtroom. Austin looked broken, 20 pounds lighter, his expensive suit hanging off his frame. When the judge asked if he had anything to say, Austin turned and looked at me. I'm sorry, he said. For everything, I was weak. James convinced me that Dad owed me more, that you were getting special treatment, that taking money was just balancing the scales. But I was wrong. I destroyed our family. I destroyed you. I'm sorry, Gerald. I nodded but said nothing. Some apologies come too late. 2 weeks after Austin's sentencing, Dad called me. I'm selling the business, he said without preamble. I can't do this anymore. I'm 61 years old and I'm tired. The IRS penalties are manageable but significant. I'll have enough left to retire if I sell now. I want to split the proceeds between you and your mother. You earned it, Gerald. You saved everything. I don't want the money. Please, let me do this one thing right. You saved the business, saved me from prison, saved Mom from losing everything. You did it even after we destroyed you. The least I can do is make sure you benefit. I thought about refusing. But something in Dad's voice stopped me. All right, I said. The sale took 6 weeks. Henderson Construction was purchased by a regional developer for $760,000. After paying off remaining debts, IRS penalties, and legal fees, Dad cleared $420,000. He split it evenly, $160,000 to me, $160,000 to Mom, keeping $100,000 for retirement. I deposited the check and didn't touch it. Somehow it felt tainted. Blood money from a family business that had nearly destroyed me. Richard Pemberton made good on his promise. By late December, I was offered junior partner at Morgan & Associates. A significant raise, a real future, recognition that I'd earned through years of meticulous work and maintaining integrity under impossible pressure. Thanksgiving came and went. Mom called, invited me to dinner. Just her and Dad, small and quiet. Not this year, I told her. Maybe next year. I need time. I understand, she said, and I think she did. I spent Thanksgiving alone in my apartment, ordered Chinese food, watched football, and felt at peace for the first time in months. 3 months later, in January, James Morrison was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for fraud, conspiracy, witness intimidation, and extortion. The judge noted his pattern of predatory behavior and lack of remorse. Austin was serving his sentence at a minimum security facility in Pennsylvania. Mom visited him monthly. Dad went once, came home devastated, and never went back. I didn't visit, didn't write. Some bridges burned so completely there's nothing left but ash. I moved to a better apartment in February. 2 bedrooms, big windows, a neighborhood where I didn't know anyone, and no one knew my history. Started fresh. I also started seeing a therapist, Dr. Rachel Kim. Twice a week at first, then once a week, working through the betrayal, the anger, the complicated grief of losing a family that still technically existed. In March, I met someone. Her name was Jenna. She was 30, worked as a librarian at the downtown branch. We met when I went in looking for a book on financial planning, and she recommended 3 better options. We talked for 20 minutes. She had kind eyes and a quick laugh and knew absolutely nothing about Henderson construction or family drama. I asked her to dinner. She said yes. By April, we were dating regularly. I told her my story gradually, in pieces, testing whether she'd run. She listened without judgment, asked good questions, and once said, "You did the right thing, even when it cost you everything. That says everything about who you are." I was falling in love with her. In May, I received a letter. No return address. Inside, a handwritten note on Henderson construction letterhead. "Gerald, you were right about everything. I hope someday you can forgive me. I hope someday I can forgive myself. You're a better man than I ever was. I'm proud of you, son." I should have said that more when it mattered. Love, Dad. I read it 3 times, folded it carefully, put it in my desk drawer. I didn't throw it away. But I didn't frame it either. It was there if I ever wanted to look at it again. But for now, I was focused on moving forward. One evening in late May, I sat at my kitchen table with my journal, something Dr. Kim had suggested I keep. I wrote, "I learned that family isn't just blood. It's trust, respect, and accountability. I learned that doing the right thing doesn't always feel good. Sometimes it just feels necessary. I learned that you can't save people who don't want to be saved, and you can't force people to see truth when they're determined to believe a lie. But most importantly, I learned that my worth isn't determined by whether my family accepts me. It's determined by whether I can look at myself in the mirror and respect the man looking back. And finally, after everything, I can." The following week, Dad called. "Can we meet?" "Coffee somewhere neutral. Just talk." I hesitated. Then, "All right. Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. The Coffee Bean on Maple Street." Saturday morning, I arrived 5 minutes early. Dad was already there, looking older, but healthier than the last time I'd seen him. Less gray, more at peace. We ordered coffee, sat at a corner table. "I'm in therapy," Dad said. "Started in January. Dealing with the guilt, the mistakes, trying to understand how I let things get so bad. The therapist says I enabled Austin his whole life. Made excuses for him. It's hard to hear, but it's true." "Yeah," I said. "I know I destroyed our relationship. I know sorry doesn't fix that. But Gerald, I want to try. If you're willing, I want to know you, really know you. Not as my accountant or my employee or someone who can save my business, just as my son." I sipped my coffee. "It's going to take time. A lot of time. You hurt me, Dad. Badly. I know, but I'm willing to try. Slowly." We talked for 2 hours, about small things. His retirement, my job, the weather. We didn't discuss Austin or the business or the lawsuit. Just normal conversation between 2 people learning to know each other again. As we were leaving, Dad hugged me. It was awkward, uncertain, but real. "Thank you," he said. "For everything. For saving the business. For not giving up on us completely." "I didn't do it for you," I said. But this time the words weren't bitter, just honest. I drove home feeling lighter. That night, Jenna and I cooked dinner together in my apartment. Nothing fancy, just pasta and salad. We ate on the couch, watched a movie, and she fell asleep with her head on my shoulder. I looked around my apartment, my space, my life. Built on my own terms, separate from family drama and business entanglements and other people's expectations. It wasn't perfect. I still had bad days, still woke up angry sometimes, still felt the sting of betrayal when I thought about everything that happened. But I was free. Free from the weight of other people's lies. Free from the burden of proving my innocence to people who'd already decided I was guilty. Free from the desperate need for my family's approval. I'd fought back. Not with revenge or bitterness, but with truth and integrity and refusing to become the villain they tried to make me. And I'd won. Not because I got money or apologies or perfect reconciliation, but because I got myself back, and that was enough. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever been in a situation where your family or people you trusted turned against you, believed lies about you, and made you feel like the villain when you were actually the victim? How did you handle it? Did you fight back or walk away? Share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear how you found your way through. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these stories and know they're not alone in their struggles. Subscribe to the channel for more real-life stories about overcoming betrayal, injustice, and family conflict. And share this video with someone who might need to hear it. Someone who's facing their own battles and needs to know that integrity and truth really do win in the end. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that even in the darkest times, when everyone turns against you and the whole world seems upside down, you can still hold on to who you are. You can still fight back with truth. And you can still build a life you're proud of. Take care of yourselves. Stay strong. And remember that sometimes the greatest victory is simply refusing to let other people's betrayal turn you into someone you're not.